All right, welcome back. On this episode of One Apple Tea, we interview Jeremy Billings, or also known as Jeremy is Mindful. That's his Instagram handle. So basically, we kind of get into a talk about what he's all about, mindfulness, meditation, that kind of stuff. He's a very Zen guy.
Yeah, we also talk about how he started his own podcast called Zenspiration.
Yeah, the Zenspiration Podcast.
Yeah, and we talk about kind of how he built it and then his goals as far as becoming a nurse.
Yep, and kind of figuring out, we talk a little bit about kind of figuring out what you want to do in life, you know, as a career, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
and also practicing, like we said, mindfulness, meditative practices. So
that's
it's a
pretty much
good
it.
episode. He has
Loved
some dimes he drops, so we'll definitely throw out some clips and stuff. You guys will get to see him.
Oh yeah, I'm actually really excited for that. And then the artist feature of the week is another JoEgo song, featuring a lot of the Bellingham gang over there, and that's the song "Dark Side." All
right, enjoy. Jeremy is mindful. All right. So I feel like the first thing we should talk about is your definition of mindfulness, like tell the people what is being mindful. What does that mean?
So basically, mindfulness comes from Zen Buddhism, Zen mindfulness actually. But for me, I take mindfulness as a way of simplifying your day-to-day lives and to be present in the moment with whatever you are doing. So one of my first episodes of my podcast that I was talking about was, you got your coffee or your tea in one hand, you got your phone on the other, you're on the phone, you're trying to rush out the door, you got to go to work, you're late, and you're doing all these things at once, but you're not actually present in the moment, paying attention to what you're doing, And with the technology we have today, and we're all busy, right? Today, it's hard for us to be present and actually paying attention to the one thing that we're doing. For example, driving.
Yeah, for sure.
How many of us these days are on the phone or like they're getting the coffee and it's like, oh my God, I can't get the lid off my oh, I just spilled it all over the place. And you're doing 75 on the highway. It's like, before you know it, unfortunately, something happens.
Yeah.
But how many of us actually stop, put the phone down, don't worry about what's ever in the car and just pay attention to the drive? Or if you're fixing something or like playing music or having a conversation with somebody, actually having a conversation with them. Like paying attention, not just to respond or reply, but to actually understand, right?
And not doing the whole like, oh yeah,
yes,
Even with a car thing, I'm like, there's so many times where I'm driving, and then I'll from the house to work, and I'm like, shit, I don't even remember the car ride. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I'm like, I was on autopilot that whole time.
Yeah, like, wait a minute, I just drove here and I don't even remember driving
I guess
here?
I've arrived,
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So it's just about simplifying your life and just being present with whatever you are doing. And it can be anything really.
Which I think is like very important because in terms of just, if you want to enjoy something, I feel like a lot of the time, like the best times I've ever had is when you forget about, all the bullshit and you're just enjoying hanging out with somebody or doing whatever. And then, there's those times like you're enjoying yourself. And then for whatever reason, you think about what happened yesterday or last week or what's going to happen tomorrow. And you go from here to like here immediately. And you're like, shit.
Yep.
Yep. So
it's tough. It's not easy. It's something, it's almost like a skill that you have to implement and learn because we are always bombarded with things. Like I know for me, like the first thing I do when I wake up is right, not even leaving my bed. I say 3 things I'm grateful for, and I have like some sort of mission in my day. What's the big thing I want to tackle today? And I give myself a little bit of time to kind of stretch a little bit. But before my feet touch that ground, I come up with 3 things I'm grateful for. I set the tone in my head like today is going to be a good day, right? And other people may, go to the gym or have coffee or something like that. But if we pay attention and if we're aware throughout our days, it's like, oh, that person contacting me that I, had a rough past with, or like my ex-girlfriend's coming back, or my parents are, or, oh, I got to pay this loan. Or, oh, that person flipped me off. By the time it gets to the end of the day, you have all this excess stuff in your body, in your mind, of things that you don't want. And by the time we go to bed, you ever notice like you are sleeping, but you wake up and you're still tired or you're stressed?
Oh yeah.
It's right.
That happens a lot.
It's because you are physically sleeping, but in your mind you aren't actually sleeping. You're not at rest. You're not at ease. You still have all that baggage from the day before. And oftentimes what we need to do is kind of decompress and release all of that. Which could be guilt, it could be resentment, it could be negative energy from other things, such as someone cutting you off on the highway, and you carry that into your date with somebody or a friend.
Oh yeah, that can totally happen. I mean, that's like, it's happened to me where like I couldn't find something in the house, and then we had company over,
and it's just like,
oh yeah, this is when Amy came over, and like we were going to go to the work party, and I couldn't find the iron to iron my shirt. And so I was like,
wrinkles.
Yeah, I was like, gosh, there's wrinkles in my shirt. I need to iron them. Where the fuck is this iron? And I was like, I was so overly pissed that I literally couldn't see the iron right in front of me. Quite literally, because Adam came home, obviously level-headed, and I'm like throwing shit off my bed, like, where the fuck is this iron? And Adam literally came home. He's like, dude, it's in the same spot it's always been, on top of the shelf.
I walked into the bathroom where we put the iron, and I was like, it's right there where we put it.
And I walked over, I was like, oh my God, I looked here. I was like, and it's literally blinded by my own rage of not being able to find something that was literally right in front of me.
Right. And it happens to all of us. We're human, and it's important to, accept that and to be aware, understand, or even like you're in the gym, right? And you just, that's like your you time, or like my me time. I try not to be on my phone too much at the gym. I'm trying to focus and feel every fiber in my muscle that I'm working out. And if we have like, I got to go to this meeting later, or how much time do I have left? I got to eat. I'm hungry now. Now that squat doesn't actually feel like a full squat, or that press doesn't feel like a full press.
Yeah.
And that takes away from that. You are robbing yourself. You're allowing this whatever distraction in your mind to rob yourself of your joy in this moment of whatever you're doing.
I can absolutely agree with that. And I feel like it even goes as far as like, if you're distracted with just like that kind of stuff in the middle of your set, and you're not thinking about all the contracting of each muscle, that's kind of like a very, like, you talk all the time about like paying attention to your form and like certain.
Because it's like meditative almost, because it requires a ton of focus, which is like, for me, like meditation is just like practicing focus, because it's like, it's a skill. If you want to refrain from being distracted, you have to practice being undistracted, right? So at least at the gym, right? And I'm like really focused, and I realize it's like the only thing I'm paying attention to if you really want to get into it, for me to like, at least. And that for me carries over, for the rest of the day. Cause I'm spending all this time just practicing doing one thing, like really intensely. And you go, and I'm like, I have to work and I can't think about other shit. So it's like, you know what I mean? It's very much a skill. At least that's how I feel about it.
It is a skill. It really is.
Yeah. That was one of the things where I think people, with the gym, they go there as like this is where I'm going to go to lose weight. And they don't think of, this is where I'm going to go to gain a skill. Because a lot of it is just kind of like doing a squat is a lot more complicated than people give it credit for. Even walking and running is a lot more complicated than people think it is. But they just, it's just, it's almost just kind of like complicated in a way that people have a hard time attaching even how to start it, So like,
because it's such a commonplace thing.
Yeah.
But it is technically a skill too, That's why certain people get like knee pain or whatever from running, because you're not technically doing it properly, It's just like stuff like that.
They say heel strike. I don't know. I've been looking this up a lot, but heel striking is apparently like, you're not supposed to be doing that.
I think it depends. I think long distance, they do. They roll off the heels.
Yeah,
but we don't have to get into
there's a lot of factors. There's a science behind this. I don't have the knowledge to cover this, but I can get it.
Yeah.
So basically, yes, mindfulness is just about simplifying your life and trying to be present whatever you're doing.
Yeah,
simple. Not so simple, but simple.
Yeah, I was gonna. Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's like, I'm sure what, like, I guess I don't really know being a monk is all about, right? Is that you mentioned Buddhism earlier, so I'm gonna defer to you for these kind of things. Like, do you study that, or is that like a...
Yeah, so I do. I wouldn't say that I'm an expert or a monk, but I am somebody for over the past 3-4 years, I have been reading books about people that have been monks or people that have experienced living a monk life. And for the past, I believe, over 8 months now, almost a year, I've been going to a meditation center that has two people that one is actually a Buddhist nun.
Oh, no way.
Yep, it's called the Atisha Kadampa Center in Providence. It's on Eves Street, Ives. Yep, and it's really interesting how you can learn and understand people from this background, because Buddhism is essentially, it's not a religion.
I was about to ask, because it sounds like it's more of a practice and less of a...
It's basically, it's more of a practice, and it's about taking yourself and relieving suffering. So like one of the things that we learn in Buddhism is to disconnect or not be attached to things. Like, for example, the cell phone that we have or your job. If you are attached to that thing, what happens if you lose that?
Yep.
You will suffer. But if you are detached from it, you will not suffer if something happens to that. And it's not in a form of, like, we need food, obviously, and we need each other. We need our friends and loved ones, of course. Mm-hmm. And it's more about cherishing those things instead of, I need this to be happy.
Okay.
Right. That's the general concept of Buddhism, is relieving suffering.
More
for
like
us
I want
others.
this, I don't need it, to kind of thing. Like,
right. A lot of monks, basically, they practice simplification. Shaving their heads, shaving their facial hair, wearing robes. Basically not living an ordinary life.
Yeah, no kidding.
But it's interesting way. It's minimalism on steroids, I guess you could call it.
Yeah, for sure. The thing that's like always puzzled me about it is just like, it's a simple idea, right? To like relieve suffering through detachment of being attached to so many things, right? Just like, and that sounds really simple, but I feel like for an average person, they don't really know where to even, like, let's say they're not Buddhist, but they want to try and take some of these methods, right? Mm-hmm. Like, how do you kind of start that kind of mentality?
Yeah, so if you're an ordinary person and you kind of want, there's many things in Buddhism. That's just a big thing.
Yeah, for sure.
So an ordinary person, like for me, it all started when I was kind of figuring out what I wanted to do with my life. I'm going to school to be a registered nurse, a traveling nurse, actually.
Yeah, I've been seeing that. Awesome.
Thank you. STEM fields.
That's right. That's right.
Exactly.
So I wanted to essentially stop feeling. I went through a big, massive like anxiety and depression like era, and I wanted to stop going through that without medication. So I started picking up these books, and I'm an ordinary person as well. I'm no better or different than anybody else.
Yeah.
And what I started doing is kind of looking in my own personal life and picking out a few things that I am grateful for and happy for and I'm proud of. It could be, I'm a funny person, or, I'm doing good in school, or anything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Start really small and pick parts of your life that you may not be so proud of. Maybe like, I actually want to cut back on social media, or I want to reach out to more people, and try to look at things that you are proud of, things that you're not so proud of, and then try to put a magnifying glass to those things and look at to how you can improve it. So for example, somebody that wants to simplify their life, right? Let's say that they are, I don't know, could be anything. They want to build a website or on Instagram or, a social media platform, something online, and they are trying really hard.
Yeah.
I've been there.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
for sure.
Oh, yeah.
I know a lot of people are trying to do that.
Oh, yeah.
It's very stressful, you know, and they are building and working on it, and they're not seeing the results. And like, oh my God, and they're beating themselves up, right? What I would say is to cut back a little bit, because you may be trying a little bit too hard, and ask yourself, why are you doing it? Like, go back to your why, and try to see what is going good and what is going not so good, and try to apply it from there. So another example could be, all right, I want to get into Buddhism. I want to practice like simplifying my life. I want to feel more like light. I don't want to feel like I have so much stuff on my shoulders.
Yeah.
See what you don't need. Make a list. Like, I like to write lists all the time.
Yeah.
And I like to make a list of things that that help me, that benefit me, and things that are kind of putting a burden on me. So like, let's say you are somebody that's a photographer and you have like 4 or 5 cameras. That's a lot of equipment.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
But what happens is in your subconscious mind, because you have so many things, stuff and clutter, it's actually weighing on the back of your mind. If we try to get rid of things, I actually don't need this camera, or like this camera is actually more, I use this more than this one. Sell this one or give it to a friend or something, and kind of like thin out the specific area of your life that you want to feel better about.
Yeah, I feel that way about clothes, to be honest.
I feel like with a lot of things, really, just like spreading yourself too thin in general. I mean, if you think about it, like trying to do a lot of things, it's hard to be organized when you have a lot of things you want to do instead of focusing on doing them serially instead of in parallel. Like, hey, I'm going to do this and then move on to this. And you end up getting a lot more done in one area than, which is always better than having like a very minuscule amount done in a bunch of things that doesn't amount to, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you're kind of describing my life right now.
But it's something like I know I do for sure. And that's something that's helped is like, okay, I just have to understand that like right now in my life, these 2 things are what I want to do. These other things I can do at some other point, but I really don't have time for them now if I want to actually improve in, these 2 things. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, that's kind of what so I used to do a lot more recording and mixing and stuff. Mm-hmm. And ever since we started like the podcast, I've really just kind of put that on the back burner and said like, hey, I accepting very few projects, or the projects that I do accept, I have to be like, hey, this is either going to be a demo and I can do a quick mix, or this is going to be something that you expect it to be a long-term project. And that's pretty much all I've accepted at this point. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that applies for like a lot lot like for a lot. I feel like there's, I don't know. It's definitely something I'm trying to do.
Even like something like cleaning your room, you know what I mean? Like I get all stressed out when I'm sitting in my room and it's like a shithole, there's stuff everywhere. I'm like, oh my God,
you must be stressed out all the time. It is
stressful. Yeah,
Yes. So I think the takeaway is prioritizing. Prioritizing is a big thing. How do you try to simplify your life? Well, let's say you're somebody you may be listening and you're like, well, Jeremy, my entire life is chaotic. Okay, that's fine. That's okay. I understand that. Start with just one area.
Yeah.
Which there's a professional named Jordan Peterson. And
I like him.
He always says clean your room, but it's actually a metaphor, and I'll go into a little bit. So I always like to start with my room too, because your room may actually be a reflection of how you are internally. Not altogether like forever, but in a specific amount of time. And if you can organize your room first before you leave the house, that's something you can physically and visually get feedback to your brain that, okay, I can organize like a part of my life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And start really, really small. Like even like clean your phone out or something like that, or just do the dishes and start there and say, okay, I did one task, I organized it, I cleaned it. All right, what's the next thing? It sounds a little bit like silly and chorey, but it builds up and then it comes to a point where you can then learn from those tasks and apply it directly to your mind.
Yeah.
Right.
I feel like there's definitely like a snowball effect with things like that, because I for sure know what you mean. Like whenever I'm having trouble either focusing at work or at home, I'll always pick like a couple of mundane things that I know will be easy for me to do. Like, okay, like if I make myself get these done, I know I'm going to get going and, I'm going to be like, okay, I'm getting shit done now and I can roll over onto something else and be less distracted. And it actually works, It sounds so stupid because it's like a make your bed or clean your room, but it's like try it out.
It's really powerful.
It's one of those things that like it feels good when it's done. Like you clean your room, like you saw our calendar down there. Like I have everything marked and laid out.
Yes,
so that we know when episodes are coming out. We know what the content is of the episode. We know when the interviews are coming in and when we have to do when we have to section off time. And we actually got that calendar just for the sake of like saying, we need to know when we're doing podcast stuff because otherwise we're not going to be able to plan the rest of our lives.
In like a high traffic area. Like we're always walking by that calendar. So I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. We got that today. So
yeah, we got
that.
Yeah.
It's just a little thing that's silly, but it does a lot. And sometimes like simplicity is really powerful. Oftentimes actually.
Yeah. I actually wanted to ask you about. I recently listened to People Pleasers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, my
listened to
pee-pee
that.
episode.
Yeah, your pee-pee episode.
I
You're
listened to that one
talking all
yesterday.
about your pee-pee or the pee-pees. Anyways.
Yep.
So I loved that episode because
Thank you.
because I actually did relate to it quite a bit.
Yeah.
Because actually, you expand on the episode a little bit for those that
Sure.
haven't heard it, maybe, and then
Sure.
I'll kind of give you some of my thoughts on it.
Okay, yeah. So people pleasers in my podcast, I was basically talking about how, and in every episode, I always talk about like my experiences and what I learned from other people too. It's basically about the concept of how when we want to be really nice to other people to the point where we put our own needs and well-being on the back burner so that we can just be accepted by that other person or group of people. That's the basic concept.
Mhm.
It's complicated because especially today where we live in an age where we're constantly comparing highlights, we're constantly comparing, income, education, look at my house, look at my car,
Yeah,
look at
for
my girl.
sure.
Yeah.
And we want to be accepted by somebody or a group of people that may be higher than where we are. But oftentimes what happens is because we are putting our own needs and well-being on the back burner, we shoot ourselves in the foot because then those other people we're trying to impress can see that. And oftentimes it breeds insecurity,
Yeah.
when it's like, look at me, look at all these things, look what I'm doing. Look at me. I'm so cool. Versus, oh, you want this? You need this? Okay. Oh my God. And like showering. We've all been showered before by someone. And when I
Yeah.
was a kid, and it's kind of like, huh?
Yeah, it is.
Like, it's kind of weird,
Yeah.
It does. It feels weird when you can feel. That was going to be what I was going to talk about. Is that like you can feel when someone's trying to like please you intentionally.
Yeah.
and they're not
It's
doing
like
it.
sucking up in a way. And like you
Yeah.
talked about almost like the power of saying no to something.
Yeah.
Which I resonated with a lot because a lot of the time, like
Power of no.
I say, So I say yes to a bunch of different plans because I'm like excited to hang out with my buddies.
Dude, this guy's a yes man.
and then,
when it
dude,
comes
well,
to
because
plans.
then I'm like, I'm looking through my calendar, or not even because I don't write any shit
I
down.
was gonna say.
And so whenever I want to do something on the weekend, I'll be like, hold on. And I'll text like literally like all of my friends like, hey, do we have plans this weekend? Because I have no idea.
No
And he's like,
Usually,
he's
like,
got his phone in his hand. He's like, hey, did we have something going on this weekend?
Yeah.
And then I'm like, yeah, it's like when our buddy was coming down. He's like, when is he coming? What day is he coming down?
Yeah.
I'll be like Friday. He's like, all right, so Friday I'll stay here. I'll sleep over. Then I'm waking up. I'm going to my dad's the next day. I'm going to hang out with him all day. And then that night, I got to see my friends in Boston. And then Sunday, I should be able to make it
Dude,
back
and
home.
like
in
to
time.
be honest,
Overload.
like selfishly, it's because I just like keeping in touch with everyone. It's less so
Yeah.
me being a people pleaser, but just the
Yeah,
same thing
sorry,
applies in the
that's not
sense
what I
where
was
it's
trying
like
to say.
saying
Right.
no to plans is like I like having a day where I can just this is my day. I'm just gonna fuck off and do my own thing.
Yeah. By
Right.
the way, I was not trying to call you a people pleaser. That was
Hey
just.
man,
that-
it's on
You're
on
not a
camera.
pee-pee, Adam.
So
You're not a
I'm fucking
pee-pee.
pee-pee. Call me pee-pee. We have a guest here. You know.
No, and I was the same way too. Is I would always like to be around friends and new people, and like I do want to do this. Do you want to do this? And it does backfire because you're trying to squeeze everything in. And I'm sure we've been in a place where we're at a gathering or an event or like a party, and we look at the time. We're like, oh my god, I gotta leave.
Yeah,
But this
dude,
conversation.
oh my God.
I just said something, and this person's continuing the conversation. I'm like, oh my god. Then you're like, I'm sorry, I gotta go. And now they're like, wow, that guy was in a rush. Like, what?
Yeah.
Okay, he doesn't want to hang out with us. Okay, fine, whatever. And then you're rushing to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And before you know it, it's like you're trying to catch up to yourself
Yeah,
almost.
100%,
Oh, yeah.
dude. That's happened so many times. I'm
And,
like,
and you're like, oh my God. But it's just about saying no to things at times, you
Yeah.
know, and it's okay. You know,
Yeah.
the important thing is to be gentle with yourself and be like, you know what? Okay, maybe next time I'll say no to one thing,
yeah,
you know, and you
Yeah.
learn, or you should try to learn rather.
Yeah. I also think sometimes in your case, as far as making too many plans, is like just sometimes you forget to write it down,
dude.
you know? And so like you accidentally be like, oh yeah, I'm free that weekend because the people are coming the next weekend. But in reality, it's all on the same weekend.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's
And so
exactly.
it gets stacked.
So write things down.
Yeah, right. That's
or
what the
remember-
calendar's for.
Yeah.
Write them
Um,
down.
But with people pleasers, because I do want to circle back to that
Yes,
more
go ahead.
so, because I find that definitely in my maybe teenage years and into college, especially trying to fit in with a college group, that
Yes.
I like 100% was just like, at the sacrifice of what I actually like doing, I will just hang out with these group of people just to see if I can fit in. And that definitely, like when you're talking about that, I was like, this guy's kind of describing like a 4-year ago me.
Yeah, me too. I've been through it. I'm sure we all have. You know, it was, you know, like I grew up, you know, skateboarding and snowboarding, playing drums, and I was surrounded by a lot of people. Well, I went to a tech school and my sending school too, and Killingly, but there was often times where there was, you know, people that are in the athletic clubs or like athletes playing football or cheerleading, or they have parents or families that are much more educated. And it's almost like I would try to not act or know that I was a skateboarder and try to be like, yeah, you know, I play sports and stuff. You know, the Bruins. Yeah.
Hockey.
Yep.
Sport ball.
And then you take out your phone and you're like, okay, like what are the basics of this thing? Yes. See, I know it too.
Yeah. Oh my God. That's so funny.
We all do it.
Yes.
And the important thing is to kind of just catch that and realize, you know what? People will actually accept you more when you are comfortable and you just have a grip on your own stuff. Like, I'm a huge nerd and I like that, you know, and it's more interesting to be around or talk to people that are like really all about whatever they do and they have their own belief systems, you know, and that's awesome versus being around people that are kind of like bouncing between like a whole bunch of different like mindsets and areas. Kind of like who is this person?
Yeah.
So I think the important thing today is to not be so distracted by so many things like on media and just ask yourself, like just sit in your room and say like, what do I like? Like, who am I?
Yeah.
You know, what do I like to do? Like, you know, I like to play guitar and like I like video games and I don't really like this that everyone likes, but that's okay because we're not all going to be the same. That'd be kind of boring if we're all the same.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny you touch on that, like kind of getting in touch with your nerdiness.
Yep.
I think that was a huge step for me personally, just like all of a sudden realizing like, hey, like I say a bunch of like kind of awkward shit, but if I just own up to the cringiness, like people actually just find it funny.
Oh yeah.
As opposed to me just making every situation awkward.
Right.
Yeah. You know, I kind of lay into my own self, which has turned into more of a this is me and less of a oh shit, I got to somehow.
Yeah,
this isn't awkward, right?
I mean, I mean, look at Parks and Recs in The Office. That when I first saw that, I was like, oh my God, like this is really cringy but really funny.
Yeah.
But you know, the point is that when you lay into like your own side, it's cool and you laugh about it and you're like, you know what? Like if you don't accept me or like me, that's okay because I'm accepted by myself. Because when you go home, the only thing that really truly matters is not what your girlfriend or boyfriend says, not what your parents think, it's what you think. Because you go to bed with yourself and mindset and you wake up with yourself and mindset.
Yeah.
You know, don't forget
Very
that.
true.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That'll be your direct camera, by the way.
Yeah.
The one all the way to the right.
Don't forget that.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it's very true.
Yeah, that's God, that was great.
Own it.
That was great.
Own it, man. Like I love Final Fantasy. I love playing PlayStation 1 games. Like I love playing video games and just studying and being like hanging out at home. Like I like weird things. I don't need to like what's on the radio or like, it's cool, you know?
Yeah. Were you happy, just speaking of PS1, were you happy when they came out with the reboot of Crash Bandicoot?
Yes, actually, and Spyro. Dude, that's what it's all about, man.
Yeah,
that's classic.
They did a great job. The camera alone was a huge improvement in Spyro, where it like was a lot easier to manipulate.
It was really annoying.
Yeah. And the original one, dude, I just remember playing Spyro as a kid and being like, I can't see.
I know. You're like, what? I just got hit by what?
Yeah.
I couldn't even see it. There's a gem over there.
Yeah.
An egg. I can't even see the egg.
Yeah. How am I supposed to know that it's there? Yeah.
Right.
Oh, it's so funny how far that's come.
Right. But the takeaway is like whatever your background is, it's everybody has. I believe everyone has some sort of like gift or superpower or something, you know, and it's about just knowing what that is at some point, or just simply when we sit in silence with ourselves, it helps through meditation because you're quieting your mind and you're just kind of listening to yourself and just simply, you know, ask yourself, like, look at yourself and see what you are about. What do you like? What do you don't like? What do you want to go towards?
Mm-hmm.
You, not what somebody else says or wants. Even though, you know, parents have a huge influence, or, you know, maybe if you're living with friends and roommates, there may be that social pressure to do something else. don't give in to that, because you are going to put your well-being and happiness on the back every time, every encounter. You're going to put it on the back burner. You know, you got to get up early. You want to go home and just like, have a glass of water, eat something, and just go to bed because you got to get up and you got a lot of things to do. Just go, just leave. Don't try to stay at this thing longer to please other people.
Yeah.
You actually taking yourself away may increase the likelihood of those people liking you.
Yeah, because they're like, oh, that's him. That's what he likes to do, and he's comfortable at that. Like, I respect that.
Yeah, there's a level of respect there.
Yeah, I respect that he's identified that. And actually, if people are like, oh, well, that guy's fucking weird for not being exactly like us, well, then it's like time to find new friends.
Right, because if I always live by the, I grew up very shy and very like not confident. Like, I'm only child, and I would always hang out with the big kids and try to be accepted by them, and it never worked. But I always like to live by the notion of if people don't accept you for who you are, like who you are currently, or if like in that situation, if you were at a gathering or a party or just hanging out with some new people, and if they make you feel bad or they're like, oh, that's stupid, you know what? Nothing you're going to do is going to make them like you anyway. If you try to be someone else, like, you're only hurting yourself.
Yeah. Then they're going to be like, oh, look at you trying to pretend.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like, hit you with like, oh, this kid's a poser. It's like, okay,
so it's like, oh, I can never win. It's like, well, you're just not in the right crowd. That's why you can't win.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah, fuck them. There's so many people in the world, it doesn't even matter. You know what I mean? It's like, you're growing up and you're only exposed to like whatever it is, like 200 people that live around you, and then like, you're like, wait a minute, I could just move over here and these people are cool. So why the hell? You know what I mean? So,
yeah. I like to go by the notion of when we accept ourselves and are just happy with ourselves. You don't have to be perfect. I understand that.
Yeah, I don't think anyone really is,
No. When you kind of just come to a point of accepting yourself and saying, like, you know what? Like, I don't have all these things. I'm not the greatest at a lot of things, but you know what? I'm good at a few things that I know, and I'm okay with that. Then all of a sudden it's like, wow, like I met this cool guy or cool girl, and now we've been dating for 7 years. Like now all these people that all these connections are coming out of the woodworks. Yeah. Like, I got new job offers. When you accept yourself and you're happy with yourself, like, honestly, like, miracles just happen, man.
Yeah. And I feel like it's almost like, sometimes people hear that and like kind of shrug it off, but it's so important because it's one of those things, again, where it's like simple. It's right down the middle. It's easy to hear, to implement it. It's a whole other level. But
I feel like people trust somebody who's just like themselves. It's like, I know exactly what this guy's about. There's no like, what the fuck's up with this guy? You know what I mean?
Because you can feel it. You can feel when someone's
feel it.
Yeah, I mean, you can feel it. Yeah, when someone's like faking it, and it's like, it's weird.
Bad vibes, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, speaking of vibes, I don't know if I was supposed to, but I listened to the meditation one while I was driving.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah. It was
you can. Just don't fall asleep.
Yeah, it was as I was like, I was coming back from a class, and as I was like in the car, I was just like, wow, I'm like, this is like really relaxing.
Really?
Like really relaxing. Yeah, like I was like, it was like one of the most recent ones you did. I think,
yes.
I think it might have been.
It was my first guided meditation one. It was I think 2 episodes ago.
Yeah, it was like it was a 15-minute one or whatever.
Yep, short.
Yeah, but I liked it a lot.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I was legitimately, I was like, God damn, like this is actually kind of working.
Fall asleep.
It wasn't so much.
Oh shit!
You get those things on the side. No, it wasn't so much that I felt like I had to fall asleep. I felt really at ease,
like centered, grounded.
Yeah, and I was like, I'm gonna pay attention to the road, but instead of like trying to learn something, I'm just gonna try and like get myself really calm.
Yeah.
And so I was like, following with the breaths and like the music that you put in there. Which actually, I meant to ask, like, where do you get that music? Because that just
it's just no copyright music.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you can just go on YouTube. No copyright, non-copyrighted.
Is it like waves crashing and stuff?
It's just basically you can go on YouTube and
pianos and strings and like
yeah, it's just people that make music that don't technically own it.
Okay.
They just like make music and throw it up. It's not like you're not ripping like music from somebody else's. Because if you were, you'd have to give them credit for it.
Yeah,
obviously.
otherwise YouTube would pull that down real fast.
Oh yeah.
But
yeah, I loved it.
I was going to ask you, so like this is kind of bringing it back.
Yep.
But when you mentioned, so like you go to a meditative center.
Yes.
So what is that? And what
Okay.
what happens there and that kind of stuff.
Magic.
Yeah.
You become enlightened.
Lots of you walk you walk in, you walk out bald in robes, and
Yeah.
you're just floating.
Yeah, I was gonna say like, oh yeah, guys, wait a minute, you can't do this
Levitating.
Okay, so yeah, so there's several centers that you can go to. Obviously, if you're in a city, there's more.
Mhm.
But it's you walk in. It's there's certain days throughout the week, and if you go, donations are welcome. But you don't need any prior experience in meditation or Buddhism or anything like that. Oftentimes, we have people just come off the street. Oh, hey, they come right in, and you sit down. We have two instructors that basically go through a welcoming, then a guided meditation, which is about 15 minutes.
Mhm.
The instructor just basically helps you just focus on your breathing. And then you concentrate your focus like towards your heart region. Okay. And after the meditation, which I won't get too in depth with it, but basically we have some sort of point. So every series, there's we go over stress and anxiety, or we go over love and compassion. And during a meditation, you want to focus on, let's say, a loved one that's sick, and you focus on their recovery. Okay.
Mm.
After the meditation, there is a talk about a specific subject in a book that we read. There's many books out there, and we have a master that has transcribed a lot of the older Buddhist writings into a more modern Buddhist text, which is more easier. There's levels. There's beginner, intermediate, advanced, boss battle. But it's basically how to get into Buddhism without actually knowing anything.
Yeah.
So it's just basically you walk in, you sign in, donations if you want, and then hi, welcome, da 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 da.
It's kind of like a class almost.
Buddhism
in
light.
that sense.
Yeah. It's I don't know, in less than an hour.
Okay.
If that.
okay.
Cool.
It's short. There's several centers. I just picked one that I liked, and it's just an instructor
Mhm.
there going over a concept and just doing a meditation, similar to that, almost like the guided one, except they're in front, and they have some sort of experience in Buddhism.
Okay.
Do
yeah.
they play something in the background as well, or?
Some of them do. This one doesn't. It's just
Mhm.
pure silence. You hear sirens going by.
Well, actually, that's
Must be
actually
New
part of the
London.
challenge, right? Because you're supposed to always center yourself back to your breath and then
Yep.
to your.
Yep. So meditation, essentially, you are you can meditate with your eyes open. I actually went to a Buddhist temple where you walk in, you put on the robes, you take your shoes off. There's a Zen Master there, no talking at all for 45 minutes.
Oh man.
You walk in a circle, and you all sit on pillows, the whole wooden ting ting. Oh, it was cool.
Wow.
And
I know so many people that would benefit from that. Mainly speaking, my dad's wife.
really,
Because, dude, she's just always go, talk.
Wired.
I love her to death. But she just never stops talking. So I feel like she would really greatly
Sorry.
benefit
45
from.
minutes of silence.
Yeah, she would. I don't know if she could do it. I really don't know if she could, but she should, because I feel like it's one of those things where you're kind of forced to do something that you never do. Because I don't even the only time I don't talk for that kind of period of time is if I'm in my office doing work.
really.
Yeah, I mean, otherwise, we live together, and so we're always hey, what's up, what's going on,
Right.
or
That's true.
unless I'm watching maybe a movie or something, but
Gaming? Or are you swearing at that person that was camping?
I mean,
yeah,
A little bit of both.
Yeah, I definitely.
But I
Well,
guess
you know
you're
what's
right.
funny? When I do a lot of gaming, if I'm not playing a single player game, I'm playing Battlefront or something. So I have a headset on. And I got my uncle on the other line, and we're always chatting throughout the whole thing.
Mhm.
So yeah, but I feel like that whole where'd you go for that?
The
The more silence 45 minutes, put on the robes, take off the shoes.
Oh,
Where
this
that
was right over the border in Rhode Island. I believe it's called the Zen Center. It's
I just
it's
what's funny about it is I feel like just out of you're in Rhode Island, you drive past the blue insect thing with the wings. What's it called?
Oh.
The blue
Oh, I don't know, big blue bug or
it
something.
looks,
Yeah,
it looks
big
like
blue
a
bug.
giant
grasshopper or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
got
is that what it
wings.
is? The blue grasshopper?
I think so.
Anyways, you drive by that.
not that
and then-
far. That's a little bit too far.
Well, you're in
anyway.
a major regular town, and then
Yeah.
out of nowhere, it's just temple.
mountains
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
like
mountains and
a
like
sunbeams through
Yeah.
the-
It only opens when you
Shangri-La.
clap 3 times and you chant.
only
It's
for the
just
enlightened.
Like,
Busts
oh
out of the
my,
highway.
oh my god, dude! Jeremy's just yeah.
Here we are.
Yes.
Wait, so when did you start your podcast, and like what kind of prompted that, and like how did that whole thing begin?
Yeah, thank you for that. That's an interesting question. So I started September.
Name of your podcast too, because
the name of it is the Zenspiration Podcast. It's basically Zen, mindfulness, and inspiration put together. So ZenSpiration.
Cool.
On all platforms.
We'll plug you for sure in the intro.
We'll get a chance to do it at the
so
end.
I started officially September 16th, and I'll just go like from the beginning. So for a number of years, 3-4 years, I was kind of just reading into books about people that are like doctors or health professionals that have looked into combining science and spirituality and combining it together, you know. And I was always fascinated by stuff because I wanted to implement that into my own life, and kind of like I was always a short-tempered kid. Like, you know, for example, let's say that, I don't know, I stubbed my toe. Oh my God. Whole day ruined.
Oh yeah. Where it really carries with you.
Or like somebody like cuts me off. I'm going to kill you in it. And would like follow them, and like I was a
I literally murdered someone.
I have a clean background, but I was just a very tempered, like aggressive kid, and I wanted to stop doing that. And like, it's a good thing to have.
Yeah.
So I just started reading into books, and then I first started like sharing it with my friends. Like I had friends that would indulge a little bit too much on the edge, and I'd say, "Hey guys, like." You know, or friends that had like a serious bad breakup. I would kind of like go in and kind of just give my 2 cents and try to help them out and relieve that aggressiveness, that suffering essentially. So I guess in a way that I've always kind of helped relieve suffering from myself and others. I just didn't make that connection to like Buddhism and the teachings. So for a number of years, I was just I'm always obsessed with like knowledge and wisdom and like personal development. I think it's so interesting because for me, it's helped my life, and I can see it literally transform people.
Yeah.
You know, like Jordan Peterson, Tony Robbins, Les Brown, a lot of like Jim Rohn, a lot of big personal development icons.
Yeah.
So after a while, like people at my school were like, "Hey man, like you should just do a podcast. Like you have a very calm voice.
You do.
And you should
Very soothing." That's why I was like,
sleep while
I was like, it was one of the things I was like, when I was telling him that you need to come on, I was like, well, dude, he has his own podcast and his voice is great. So he's going to be a great addition to the just like an interview kind of session.
Yes. Thank you for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Anytime.
And so I was told to do my own podcast. And for about 2 years, I was like, I don't have like money for a mixer. I don't have the whole thing set up. So I was like, I was on the fence for 2 years.
Wow.
But essentially, nothing went to waste, in my opinion. I don't think anything really goes to waste in the world. Yeah. Everything has some sort of underlying benefit that we can't see until the event happens. But what I was doing was just building my experience and building my knowledge of, like what I'm saying from reading these books is not just me being like crazy or silly. Like it's actually benefiting that person right there. Me being kind to people for no reason leaves them a little bit they're a little bit like questioning that, but it's actually benefiting other people. So wow, you know, maybe I should try to speak into a microphone and make it live, so then people can just listen to it. You know, it was never something it kind of just fell into my lap, I guess. Yeah. So I started September 16th of 2019 last year. And I just talked into my phone. I used, I think, Anchor, the app.
Wow.
And it was just me talking into my phone. Like the birds were chirping outside. It was actually kind of cool. And then I just went on Amazon. I was like, all right, like what's my budget? And I had to look at, you know, like your RSS feed and what do you want to use for a website.
Like a microphone and all like the base, like just to even start. Yeah.
Right. And I just looked at what I could afford because like I pay for my college education. So, you know, I live at home and I've been working I've been saving for nursing school since 2013.
Oh, man.
You know? Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So this nursing school thing is like an even bigger deal.
It's not just a job for me.
Yeah.
You've literally been
That's
from
huge,
2013 until now. You've been
I've been saving pennies.
Oh my God.
Thank you.
Dude, congrats.
So you
That's
must
amazing.
be pretty passionate about it then.
Yeah.
I respect that. That's great.
That's the person I want in the medical field. You know what I mean?
Yes.
That's amazing.
So It was something that I took a Myers-Briggs to anyway. Well, I'll close the question Adam was asking me. So yeah, I started doing it, and I just did a live episode, and I just went on my Instagram, which originally was just a personal thing, like it's Friday,
Yeah.
And I started looking into myself and saying like, what is this actually for?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
And I started building it towards mindfulness, and I said, I'll just tell everyone that follows me in this niche that I do a podcast on this.
Yeah.
And that's just how it started.
That's when you were saying earlier,
Yeah.
you combined your, I think we were talking downstairs. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. That's cool.
Yeah. And I just put it together, and people like all I wanted to do was affect one person. That's it. I just had one or two people that would DM me from like Morocco or like California, like, hey,
That's
like
awesome.
I'm a single mom, and like I really just wanted to hear that. Thank you. Because right before I started doing this, I was just doing like you do talks too.
Yeah, I do.
In the car, and people were like, I needed to hear this. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, I guess I'll just do it in a podcast, like audio form.
Yeah, because then people can listen to it at any point in time.
Yeah.
That's the big thing that's cool about podcasts, is that you can just be like, oh, or like pause it. Like, I'm going to listen to it now. I'm going to pause and then listen to the rest later.
Yeah. And I always listen to them. Not really podcasts on like a phone app, but just like watching like people on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, talks and stuff. I love the long, at least nowadays we get the luxury of having uninterrupted talks and discussions and debates and stuff. I feel very privileged to be able to live in a time like this.
Oh, and Gary V too.
For sure. Yeah.
Gary, see, I have like such a love-hate relationship.
Love-hate. Everyone does.
Because like he says a lot of like monumental stuff, and then like he also has stuff where I'm just like, really? Like, I guess.
Yeah.
But I also, I understand that you're not supposed to agree with everything.
It's like you're here, and
says.
he'll say something over here to get you to move like to here. You know what I mean? At least that's how I interpret it. Is like,
it's whatever you take.
What's like the idea behind what he's saying? I'm not going to literally do that, but like I get it. It's like post like a million times a day. Like, all right, well, post more is the idea.
Yeah, if you're trying to grow your social media, post on multiple platforms as much as you can. But not everyone has the opportunity to post 30 times a day.
Yeah, so I basically was like listening to a lot of people that affected my life in a better way. Stop living in a victim mindset.
Yeah,
that was a big thing for me, and to take more control of my life, not having any like 0 days, basically, where you're just kind of living in the why me. I don't have anything. Look at all the. If you're gonna live in a victim mindset and you're always gonna like complain or find something, you will always find a problem because you are consciously trying to look for a problem. It's like you bring like your Aunt Susan to like a restaurant. It's like a 5-star restaurant. He's like, yeah, there's a little bit of fluff on the table. Like you were intentionally looking for that, auntie.
Yeah, you didn't go there to have a nice meal.
Specific.
You went there to get ready to criticize.
Correct.
That's the guy that leaves 1 star at the Grand Canyon.
Yeah,
and he goes,
right. But on a bigger scale, it's like people that have that mindset, they put that on themselves. They're always beating themselves up. So basically, I was just reading books and applying this knowledge to my friends and my personal life, and it worked well. I just moved it over from Instagram stories, which I still do, but more in a podcast fashion. And it's been good. I just wanted to impact one person. I didn't want to make any money from it. I just do it because it's fun.
Yeah.
And
that's a good place to be. Because, you're doing it because you want to do it. It so happened that like, people started listening and stuff. So it's like, cool.
Right. So that's pretty much how it started. And it's been going well ever since. But I'm getting closer to my program. I start January 22nd. So I'm thinking about pre-writing again, because I usually pre-write. I ask people in my on my Instagram, like, if you have like somebody that was, I don't even know, in Europe, she was a professional in thanatology. I don't know if I'm pronouncing
the study
it right.
of Thanos.
No, I forgot what it was, but she was a professional in some sort of field, psychology branch, and she gave me like, oh, can you talk about grief a little bit? So basically,
that's a good topic.
My reference is kind of like the Dharma or the ancient Buddhist teachings, and kind of like looking through concepts around that, and then looking within myself, think back to a point where I was feeling like a lot of grief, and apply what I did and what I think, and learning from other people too.
Yeah.
So
it's good. You get a little bit of context, a little bit of like wisdom, old wisdom from from a reference like the
Yes.
dong.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Which actually, before I do want to touch on the whole nursing thing, but you did release an episode on grief, right?
I did. I think it was like the 29th or something like that episode I did.
I got to tune into that one. There's
a lot.
I think that's really important. Like understanding that you even have grief in the first place is like, I feel like such a huge step.
Yeah. And I talked about how I had a good friend. I had like a best friend. Like it was like it's like everywhere you went with this like friend, it was him and I just had like the perfect, like we would look at each other and we would just know exactly like what we were talking about and just laugh about it. And like, you know, when he had money issues, like I would give him some money and feed him, or like whenever he was going through a hard time, like I smoked marijuana at the time. So I would just like smoke one for free. Like here's a little, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
And it was just a true like bromance relationship. And he would be 25 today. He died at the age of 21.
Oh my gosh, man.
And
sorry to hear that.
oh, it's okay. Thank you. But he passed away in a very, I'll keep it brief, but unfortunate situation. And I was almost happy, really messed up, right? Because immediately people think like, you're happy for him.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the explanation. Yeah.
I was crying. We were all crying. That funeral home was packed. There was like a loop around the place and a line. It was nuts. And I knew that he was in a way suffering internally because of the debt and because he felt forced to do something or go to school for something he didn't know. He felt at times he was being pushed and pulled by influences like social media or people around him because he was living with people.
Mm-hmm.
And it was almost soothing because I knew that his suffering ended. And I was the best person, I was the best bro, the best friend to him that I could have ever possibly have been. And I had no regret. And I was like, you know what, man? Like, it's unfortunate you had to go, but at least you're not suffering anymore.
Yeah.
And like, I love him to death, man. And ironic, I guess, to death.
Yeah.
But you know, it feels good to be able to give something 120%. And even if it doesn't like continue on, at least you gave it the extra 20%. For me, anyway. I can't speak for everyone.
Yeah. Well, not having a regret, you know, just because that's uncontrollable. It's like uncontrollable outcome, but it's like I did exactly what I could have done.
Yep.
It's like, you know, that's just how it was. It's very much, there isn't like a gap for, oh, but if I, you know, so, which is kind of like a nice thing to know.
Yeah.
Like no matter what the situation is, I guess. It's like, you know, this is how things happen, I guess. But
yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, hey, thanks for sharing that story, by the way. I know that's very like, you know, it's like an intimate story about your own personal life. So I appreciate that.
I got nothing. I everything's forward. I don't really, you know,
That's good,
I'm
man.
straightforward.
I appreciate that.
Very vulnerable. I like to be very vulnerable.
Yeah. No, dude, 100%. I love it. Did that kind of influence you in the whole nursing thing at all?
Well, so I guess, long story short, you know, when I grew up working like in restaurants and working in factories, and I figured out really quick what I originally didn't want to go to school. I honestly thought that every single person that went to college, I'm going to get a lot of hate for this, was stupid because everyone's taking loans out. Everyone's just going to university for an excuse to not be at home and put off. And it's all at the time in my mind, I was like, this is just an excuse of an extension of high school to extend your life. Okay. I learned really fast that I did need to go to school because I worked in a whole bunch of jobs that were just, you know, low hourly rates. People, I looked at everyone around me and there was people that were in their 30s and 40s and 50s, even in their 70s, still working these monotonous jobs, like both hands arthritis, and they're just, So I looked within myself and I said, what do I want to go to school for? Originally, computers. I wanted to get into IT, but then I realized that I felt like whenever I was with people, I was able to have some sort of like intuitive touch. And I didn't know why. So I took a Myers-Briggs test online, which is like 100 questionnaire exam for your personality. And I learned that at the time I was an ENFJ, somebody that's basically like a supportive person, somebody that could be like a counselor or somebody that could be in the healthcare field or a teacher. And I said, well, what profession would I have an interest in that allows me to pay my bills, travel, and I can further my education? I was like, oh, nursing. But what I did was I looked around what I had and I said, how can I get closest to nursing and not spend thousands of dollars in a program that I could afford?
Mm.
And I said, okay. And I pondered upon that. It's like, oh, maybe I should get a CNA license. So before that, I actually got laid off from a welding job and I was doing parts for an aerospace company called Whitcraft. And one day I just went to go see a friend leave. He flew from here to Colorado and there was a fire, and his father's girlfriend at the time was a house manager for working with individuals with autism.
Mhm.
And she asked me, hey, like, how's it going? I said, I got laid off. She, oh, just come work with me. So I jumped on that. No experience at all.
Mm.
It was a really tough gig, but I stuck with it for a year and I learned a lot. So basically it was it was 3 girls, feeding them, taking care of them in the bathroom, like changing them, bringing them out to parks. And I was like, this is actually kind of cool. Like,
Yeah.
like the bodily fluids didn't really bother me.
Mm-hmm.
So I took it a step further and basically went to CNA school at my local community college, QVCC. And it was like $1,100 for the CNA program. And I did that, worked at a nursing home for a year called Westview. And I was like, wow, like this is not bad.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't like blood and urine and feces and spit and like that stuff doesn't really bother me at all.
That's good. We
That's
need
good,
people
yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
That's good.
So I said, okay, I can deal with this. And then I just started working in my local hospital. And I was like, oh, this is really cool. So I'm working with the nurses. You can apply this to any profession.
Yeah.
Like try to like surround yourself as close as possible to the end goal where you want to be.
Yeah.
If you want to be an entrepreneur, hang out with entrepreneurs because you become the average of the 5 people that you hang around.
Yeah. I heard that a while ago, and it is so true.
Mhm.
Yep.
It's so true. I mean, you can even notice it in just like how you say things. Like your lexicon is like pretty much who you hang out with. You know,
Yeah.
like the inside jokes and the little phrases and the mannerisms.
Very
Right.
true.
Like if you hang out with a bunch of like sailors or something like that, like you're probably going to end up talking first like a sailor, thinking like a sailor, and then before you know it, you are becoming a sailor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true.
All of a
It's
sudden
like,
you're on a boat.
this whole submarine thing actually doesn't sound so bad.
Oh my god! And I like hate boats because I get so seasick. too.
Seasick.
They're,
I
like
do
trying to
too.
send me out on sea tests and stuff. I'm like, I'm gonna be on a boat in the middle of the ocean for 2 weeks. Like, yeah, right,
We
dude.
barely lasted an hour drive from here to Long Island.
Yeah, the ferry ride or whatever. So
That's funny.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much how I got into nursing. Was I was like, oh, cool. Like, I actually enjoy doing this. It pays good. Like, could I see myself doing this for free? I mean, I guess it's really stressful. I guess, but like, at the end of the day, here's a good indicator you can take away. Whatever you do, like a job or a profession or like a hobby, when you stop doing it, or like when I leave my job, even though it's like super hectic and everything that can possibly go wrong goes wrong,
Mhm.
I walk out of that building and I feel and I think to myself, you know what? Like, I actually like this.
yeah,
Mm.
And I feel good about it. I don't feel like I'm dreading Monday or something like that.
Yeah.
It's a really good indicator that you're onto something.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. You know what's funny is you kind of mentioned it when you said, I might get a lot of hate for this, but I think there is some merit to like people just going to college because they think they have to go. And so
Yes.
I think in your way where you didn't at first, whether it was because you thought it was a bad idea, but because you did that, you know for sure what you want to do now.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
much so that you saved up for 6 years.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
to
That's
do
good
it.
though
I
because
didn't
then
party a lot.
Yeah.
And if I did, it was like those crappy, like in the woods fire, and then the cops come and you're like, I just had like, one Bud Light. Now I gotta-
I don't live here.
Yeah. I've been there.
Yeah.
It's good though. It's like freeing to know it's you made a decision like, all right, this is what I want to do. and not so. You're right. A lot of people, I feel like,
A
just
lot
end
of
up going.
people, and like you,
Tough.
I kind of, you end up meeting them in college too because they don't last very long. Like you'll see them like year 1 and 2, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, what happened to, whatever their name is, and they're just not there anymore. And you come to find out that they dropped out and they're just a waiter now. And it's like, man,
yes. So I don't want to shun anyone away from education because,
us not,
right?
Yeah, definitely not us either for sure.
Right. It's education in general is just learning, right? Yeah. We live in an age where you want to learn how to change your oil, you go on YouTube. You want to learn a little bit of this, like you go online.
Go on YouTube. Just go on YouTube.
Yeah, pretty much YouTube.
And going to college, I think, is important, but it's almost like a tool. If you don't really know, it could get bad really quick. You could hurt yourself, and you could use that as a metaphor, like emotionally or financially or whatever.
Yeah, no, I agree with that 100%.
It's if I could have the funds to go to a 4-year university, like I mean, sure, I guess, but I would also feel like that my life would be totally different. But I was almost grateful that I didn't have the funds in my family to go to a 4-year school. It was really tough because even myself, like at the time, I was like, wow, all my friends and even their younger siblings that are younger than me are going to like,
that's tough.
Brown, Becker, UConn, even Eastern, which is a little bit more affordable. But I was like, what's wrong with me? And that is what a lot of people I feel like have a problem with. What's wrong with me? But that was really, I had to put my ego and my pride aside, which is really hard to do when you're in your teenage years.
Yeah, it's
Dude,
very
well,
hard.
if you think about it too, it's like, are you making the decision because all of your friends are going to college? Is that why you're going? So you're right. It is kind of stupid to think that like, because I know exactly what you mean. You'd be like, shit, I'm still here. Everybody's gone.
Still here. Adam's still here.
But then it's like, I guess I'll go. But it's like, are you just doing it so you could just hang out with your friends? And you know what I mean? So you're right. I mean, it's a massive decision too. It's not like something light.
It's a big decision. And what I started to notice was a lot of my friends that did go that I haven't seen in like 3 years, they're like in my chemistry class at community college. I'm like, oh, what's up? Like, where have you been? They're like, oh, I'm like, what's the matter? What's going on? And they would just kind of be like, well, I came back here because I couldn't afford this over. I was like, oh, you're taking this class like over there, like on the other side of the country? Like, really? Yeah. And I had to come back because the funds, family was getting sick and the funds were starting to get steep. I'm like, oh, well, why don't you just take this here for like 1/5 of the price less?
Yeah.
Like it's okay.
Yeah.
And
there's definitely like, and it's a problem when you're in the universities too, is there's definitely like community college.
Yeah.
I will look down on thee.
I had that to me all the time. I had that because interesting enough, when I would go to, like I had a lot of friends, like I said, in university, and I would go to like their dorms, right?
Yep.
And I would just, have a couple of drinks and whatever, and there's like bars like near campus. I was 21 at the time. Oh, cool. Let's see what's it about. And it's like, wow, like I'm like all blacked out. I have like 3 sleeves of tattoos. I ride a motorcycle. I look totally different. And like it was interesting. Like everyone was drinking, having a good time. Like everyone's looking very, very nice, like wearing nicer clothes than me. And I just thought to myself, like, am I really missing out? Because like I've been doing this since I was 16, man.
Yeah.
Like I've been drinking the same beer and the same mixed drink that you have poorly made since I was 16 and I'm 21. Like I really am missing out on this, and it came to a point where I was like, you know what? It's okay. It's not for me.
Yep.
It may be something that people need to get out of their system, and that's fine, but don't make other people feel bad. And I remember it was one day I was at the time I was smoking cigarettes. I had a cigarette outside, and there's like three students that were asking me like, oh, where are you from? Like, you look like you're not from around. I'm like, yeah, I'm not from around here. I'm from this town, and I'm going to school for this. They're like, really? Is that a 4-year program? Nope, it's 2 years. They're like,
is that even worth the money?
Yeah. And then they're just like you're an RN in 2 years? Like you, and then they would just like cold shoulder me and leave. And I was like, oh, like, this is it. It's kind of like that Family Guy episode of Stewie when he's in high school and he wants to like have sex. And he's like, that's it. that was sex? What a ripoff.
Yeah.
You know? And in that moment, like I felt bad. Like in that moment, I was like, at the time, my pride was like shattered. But then I like quickly picked up the pieces and I was like, you know what? Like, if I have to say that I'm spending an obscene amount of money going to a named school just to be accepted by strangers, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
You know, like I'd rather go home to my hometown with like 2 or 3 of my good friends and just accept me for who I am and like don't care. It's kind of like now we live in an age where we want to buy the things that we don't need to impress the people we don't care about at that stoplight. It's like, for what?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's like, unfortunately, there's those people at campuses, and then there's not.
Yes,
you know?
yes. Not
And
everyone's like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure those people were miserable doing some major that's not going to help them out. And,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly. And then they're looking down
They
on
don't know
you,
what they wanna
but
do.
also, like, I think we talked
Like
about
envious almost.
we talked about this with John a little bit, but I think where like the things that you're insecure about are also the things that you're kind of like judging on other people.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
Yeah,
So,
because
like-
you're very aware of them, I feel like.
Yeah,
you know?
so it's like if you're that kind of person that's out there like judging someone else for completing something at a quicker time, or they're doing something and they're saving money, and they're like, oh well, you're not going to a 4-year college, so and I am, because that's
Yeah.
important. It's important that I'm here, you know. So it opens up a lot
Yeah.
of their own kind of
I think it's important too to like back on, you know, figuring out what you want to do, like what you want to do and not what you think you want to do.
Yes.
Is that like just because something is difficult, like if something starts to stress you out, that doesn't mean like, oh, I must not like this because I'm stressed out. I'm going to go fucking do something else.
yeah.
It's like no matter what you do, there's going to be shit days and then there's going to be fucking awesome days. And it's like, you just have to accept that, because I feel like somebody will, you know, they'll be thinking about it. You're like, you know what, maybe I don't want to do this, like change their career, and they do something else. And it's like, wait a minute, I just had a shitty week here too. What's the deal, you know?
Yeah. So did I answer the question, the initial question?
I forgot what it was, but I believe you
I'm
did.
pretty sure.
It was
Pretty
about
sure.
nursing, how I got into nursing.
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. for sure,
yeah.
Okay.
I think you did.
All right. I just wanted to make sure before we get off topic. But
Yeah.
so
Welcome
yeah,
to Bone Apple Tea.
that's an interesting concept, because okay, so first of all, for all of us to learn, fear is false evidence appearing real. All right. Fear is false evidence appearing real. All right.
Mm.
You may be afraid of something, but it's actually just your own perception of that reality.
Mm.
For example, let's say we all do, I don't know, extreme downhill mountain bike riding. Okay.
Yeah.
And we're all going down. Let's say that, you know, Adam is enjoying it. I'm freaking out.
Mm.
And let's say like you, Randy, are kind of like in between,
Yeah.
right? Me being scared of something that's actually may happen is most likely not going to happen.
Mm.
You're just thinking that in your mind. And like in reality, I may be thinking like, this is the most dangerous thing that man could ever do. But that's my own opinionated perception on this reality.
Mm.
Mhm.
Adam's having a great time.
Yeah.
He's like, we should do this more often,
Yeah.
you know?
That's Trevor.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But the idea is that when we are afraid of something, or if we personally have an internal feeling about something and we focus on that, we will bring that out. Okay. So I think you were saying a minute before, the whole insecure thing. It's like, somebody feels insecure because they're not like, I don't know, big or muscular.
Sure, yeah.
It's a big thing, like for guys, you know,
Mhm,
like
absolutely.
big
What
del-
drove me into the gym initially? It was
Right.
just like, oh shit, like I'm skinny, and I'm like, I look in the mirror and I
Dude,
see a
you're
little
big.
twig.
You're a big guy.
Yeah, well, thank you. It's been a lot of work, but more so talking about what got me in the gym in the first place is like that, like insecurity of like being small.
You because of that feeling, you will begin to look for that in
Mhm.
ways. Okay. So how our subconscious mind kind of works is that you have that thought of something like I may butcher this, so bear with me. So you have that thought of I'm not big.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Okay. And then that turns into an emotional response. Like, I'm not big. And, you know, you feel very strong about that because now you have that negative emotion combined with that thought. Okay.
Mhm.
it's supercharging that thought of I'm not big and I feel bad about it. Okay. Then what happens is you start to confirm that by looking. So you may look in the mirror and say, I'm not big. And then you walk into the gym and there's this guy that's been lifting for 14 years and his calorie intake is like 4,500 calories and he's, and he's massive. And you're like, see, I am not big.
Yeah, I'm tiny.
I am tiny.
Yeah.
And then you have somebody that could be confirming, like saying that to you. And their opinion probably it shouldn't matter. But because you are so open to that criticism, like they're like, oh, like, man, you swimming in that tank top, dude?
Yeah.
And now because of that, it's amplified. And now because you are constantly searching for that evidence of I'm not big, it's going to be embedded in your subconscious mind. So for as long as you allow that to happen, you will constantly be in that cycle of I'm not big. See, I'm not big because there's evidence.
Yeah.
So that is something that goes off of insecurity, because when we are insecure about something and we're not accepting ourselves for who we are, we will actually look for the evidence. Kind of like going back to how your aunt may be looking for a problem in the 5-star restaurant. Well, they're looking for it. And when they focus on that, it's going to happen. It's going to grow.
It's all about perspective.
Right.
Sure.
And that's gonna be a feedback loop system where this is the physical evidence of I am skinny or this restaurant sucks. And it's going to keep feeding your mind and you're gonna believe that.
Yeah.
And when you have that belief system, it's going to affect all areas of your life. Right?
Yeah.
Everything, your relationships, your personal life, your financial life, your spiritual life, everything.
That's why like affirmations help, and things like you're saying when you wake up in the morning and you say, I'm this, I'm that, or whatever, and I'm going to accomplish these things. Just like saying like, this is going to happen. And then it's just in the back of your head, and something happens. And it's very much both negative and positive. I feel like the same thing. That's definitely, I felt that for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. It's important. So that's pretty much how that you're in a nutshell, in a butchered nutshell, how your subconscious mind kind of works. Because, or anything like, oh, my podcast isn't good. And because you think that, you feel like, oh, you feel bad or lame about it. And now you're comparing yourself to like Jay Shetty or Joe Rogan, the Joe Rogan experience. It's like, why are you doing that? It's like you started yesterday.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Oh, and like, what's funny is when we first started, I mean, there definitely is a moment where like, if you're trying to practice a skill, there's like an upward hill battle of like, you probably do suck for a bit there. But it's like, but what you don't do is you don't just say, I suck. It's like, all right, I didn't do as good this time, but I'm going to do better next time, which was like, we recorded episodes for months.
Wow.
And like, we got reps in. I literally have a folder on my computer called Getting Reps In.
Yeah. It's like 5 or 6 episodes where it was just like, all right, we're going to toss these. But
yeah, we're going to toss these. But it was all about just getting comfortable behind the microphones and us not saying to ourselves like, this will never happen. It was like, this is going to happen, but right now it's not exactly as fine tuned.
Right. It's something that I've picked up from people on the internet of just Gary V.
Yeah.
Embrace the suck.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's a good one.
And see, this is where I love Gary V. This is where I love him. It's because I think that is so accurate. To like everything.
Yeah, whether you're building a brand, a business, you're trying to make an album, you're trying to be good at your job, like, you know what? It's you're not going to be the greatest at it. And this we were talking about it, Adam, briefly before, where people try something new. I don't know, like cooking or like sprinting.
Yeah,
or
it could even be a career
weightlifting.
path or like an education thing.
Right. Anything. You're not going to be super well at it at first. And what I mean by super well, I mean like super well to the point where you're like, oh, like, yeah, I'm killing it. Like you're gonna make a lot of mistakes. But because a lot of people like go into the mindset of like, if I'm not the best at it the first time, I'm gonna quit. It's not for me. It's like, you kidding me, man? Like some of the biggest people on the planet that are like experts in stocks, experts in running liquor business, restaurants, painting, anything, like they did a really bad job.
Yeah, for a long time.
For a long time.
I have a family member who says like, oh, I just wish I could paint. I'm like, what do you mean you wish? Start fucking painting.
Right.
Yeah. That's the only way you're going to learn how to paint. Is if you. And she's been saying that for years.
Wow.
Like I'm talking like probably 10 years I've heard this woman say, oh man, yeah, I just wish I could paint. I just don't have the talent for it. And lately I've just been looking at her like, why don't you start?
Just
start, and like you said, embrace the suck. Like just revel in like not doing so great for a little bit and just work on getting better.
Even me, when I was 11, 10 years old, I started skateboarding because I played Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3. Literally.
Oh, such a good one.
I was like, this is awesome. This is badass. And I face planted a lot in my garage buying those like Walmart and Benny's like ramps. I would always face plant, but I thought it was cool, so I just wanted to keep doing it. But even like communicating is a skill, and I was really bad at talking for a lot. I would always stutter, and I didn't know how to like organize like my thought patterns. But it's a skill, and you're not going to just be magically awesome at something.
Yeah. And I think it kind of like, I think you said like everyone has like a super talent. So there's certain things I think we start out a little bit better.
Correct.
Kind of
and
then naturally inclined to be able to.
Yeah. And so people think like, oh, okay, this is my thing. And it might be your thing, but that doesn't negate like the other opportunities that are out there for you or for anyone.
Yes. So. Yeah. So I feel like for me growing up, I had a natural talent of just connecting with people, just understanding people, talking to people, like just social skills in general, even if that I felt like I wasn't good at being socially accepted as a kid because of the whole, jocks and I wasn't a jock thing. But so I think that people should understand and master themselves so that they can build off of their strengths and build up their weaknesses. So, like for example, for me, I'm really good with like my hands, but in terms of like academic performance, like I may not be good on pen and paper, right? So I should capitalize on my strengths of being good with my hands. Like, for example, we have these things called clinicals, like interacting with people, like being thrown in a whole new different apartment. Like, what do I do? Just figuring it out is easier for me than to study all of this material and apply it. Like, I'm the type of guy to like tell you like A, B, C, and D is what you do and it's correct. But like on pen and paper, like, I butcher it or something.
Yeah.
It's a really silly, like simple concept.
I know what you mean. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I mean, like it is a very different skill set, going out and like practically applying something versus like being good at just reading and, retaining, regurgitating.
Yeah. Right. So, takeaways, don't beat yourself up. But understand yourself and look within yourself and see what you can at least enjoy doing and be somewhat able to have a grasp on it. Like, dude, I was really bad at playing drums, but when I was a kid, I hit my mom's like pots and pans with chopsticks.
Yeah,
it's really stereotypical, but it's true.
I was gonna say that, man.
If I had pictures, I'd show you, but I don't. Oh, we didn't have. We had like film at that time, but Anyway,
that's freaking brilliant.
So
I love that.
So it's just about learning ourselves, and I feel like the more stuff we have going on in our lives, like media, friends doing this, plans, like. What's my business, like all these things, school, work, money, the harder it is for you to learn about yourself.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when you have a desktop and it's like 50 like tabs open and you got all these icons. It's like,
wonder who that sounds like.
Dude,
it's me. Dude, I do it all the time.
I totally get it, but it's just going to be harder to like find things in your clutter, and you're like, oh my god,
Yeah, 100%. I'm like, put a pin in that. Over here, grab another tab.
It stresses me out every time I open his internet browser. I'm like, God,
I can't forget that. I'm gonna have to look into that at some point.
Yeah, it's just like a YouTube tutorial about like best setup system for whatever.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh, okay, that seems cool.
It's like, let's try to like simplify all this and look at what matters first, and have one tab open. Master that, give that, because we are actually not designed to multitask. We think we can multitask, but we're actually only able to do one thing at a time.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get into like, oh, what about drumming? I'm not going to get into that.
Yeah, I mean, you could technically say that is just drumming. Like the one task you're doing is drumming.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just a coordinated attack at that one thing.
So it's important to know that whatever you're doing, like one task, do it well and focus on that. And because you're doing that one thing and you're focusing on that, you're going to do it well. And because you do it well, it's going to give you validation of, oh, I can do this well. This is great. That's done. Okay, let's move on to the next thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Versus like you have 4 projects and you're giving it, like 25% effort each one. You're like bouncing from here, going to there. And then you just have a mess of uncompleted tasks. And then like 7 hours goes by and you don't feel productive.
Yeah.
Then you beat yourself up saying
Exactly.
like, I suck. And then from there, it just spirals into this
Yeah.
self-fulfilling
for
prophecy of I suck.
Yeah. Instead of like you said, focusing on one thing and killing it.
Kill it. Just do
Yeah.
that one thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, actually, I think we should wrap it up there. Honestly,
Yeah, of
it's been great.
That was good. Yeah, that was great.
And I don't know, is there any sort of like last remarks before plugging that you want to put in there? Or
So my podcast is on all platforms like Spotify, Google Music, iTunes. If you're on iTunes, it's much easier to find it if you type in my name for some reason.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like I don't find any other podcast named the Zenspiration Podcast. But when I do that, it gets very cluttered. But if you type in my full name, Jeremy Billings, in iTunes, you'll find the podcast. But just kind of, I'm on Instagram, Jeremy_is_mindful. And I love just meeting new people, taking like ideas and talking about them because I don't feel like that I'm on a pedestal at all. I am not,
I appreciate that about you too.
Yeah, no, thank you.
I can hear like when you talk and like stuff, you're always like, yeah, I mean, I'm not like, it was like you had a lot of like really good qualifiers in there because sometimes you meet people and they're like, oh, well, I am the ultimate thing already.
Yeah.
And it's like,
this is my final form.
Yeah, this is my final form.
It's like, oh, really? Because I'm in my beginning form and I just beat you.
Yeah.
I didn't even give you a spirit bomb yet.
Yeah. But awesome. So that was Instagram. You got his podcast. Go listen to it. Go hit him up. And yeah, from there on out.
Thank you guys very much.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
for sure.
Thank you. Put a glove on it.
Every night, could you dream of this life? Running out of Rome like a thief in the night. Dark side of the moon, we ain't seeing the light. Dark side of the moon, we ain't seeing the light. I just wanna leave the bank like it's GTA. Could I make it rain on a sunny day? Shoot the money dance, sweeter than the grave. Will I ever feel the clank of icy chains? Call me something colder than my veins. I'm sick of frozen shoulders to the pain. Getting closer to the fame. Like trying to paint a picture in the rain. There's a hold up in the way. Always talking about a change. Up every night, could you dream of this life? Running out of Rome like a thief in the night. Dark side of the moon, we ain't seeing the light. Dark side of the moon, we ain't seeing the light.
Puffing on the gas, no station. Me and real like Freddy and Jason. I'm no killer, but I'm murder adjacent. No nurse, no doctor, no patience. They versus requiring the payment. Get to the cash, no inflation. Pussies get put on the pavement. The end of throw shit, no, we came in like cavemen. My soul ain't for saving, so save all the amens. I came with a craving for chasing my demons. We raging for seasons, heart broken to pieces. Still glowing like beacons. I leave you bleeding, no breathing. And the cuts on your semen. No wake but still dreaming.
Up every night, could you dream of this life? Running out of Rome like a thief in the night. Dark side of the moon, we ain't seeing the light. Dark side of the moon, we ain't seeing the light.
God and the beat, new religion. Couldn't add up, new addition. Tune and listen, this music business. Wanna see the white boy abuse the pigment. I was told if I had a dream, I would have to see haters mad at me. Scratch the beef, only stacking cheese. This craft a part of my anatomy. I can see the people talking, try to start shit, but I make yourself a target. There's a bomb threat, wonder if I'm really young. Yeah, there's a conquest, nothing you can do to stop it. That is nonsense. Now, bitch, put one in your conscience. Pop it, don't think I'm obnoxious. I just can't sleep when the oxen. Wonder why I'm always
up every night, could you dream of this life? Running out of Rome like a thief in the night. Dark side of the moon, we ain't seeing the light. Dark side of the moon, we ain't seeing the light.
Let me wait and sit back, take a break, kick cat. I'm always slaving away, see my old ways and miss that. But I be staying intact, even through them days of riffraff. We ran that race just to kick back, put flame in the pot like witchcraft and hit that. Now we believe in hope, seeing these dreams unfold. I had to let people go, cause I had to leave them to grow. You and I need to know, but you don't know what you need. Feels like a week ago, ain't nobody that was noticing me.